The day was designed for bright joy. A cloudless Saturday afternoon in Willow Creek. The kind of sunshine that bleached the color out of everything except the meticulously planned party decorations. Sarah Miller, glowing with 7 months of pregnancy, stood beside her husband, Mike, on the perfect green lawn. The neighbors, friends, and family held their breath, phones raised, ready for the moment. The culmination of 9 months of anticipation, all hinged on one piece of backyard hardware, a small, unassuming confetti cannon. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. Mike pulled the cord. The cannon didn't deliver the expected burst of blue to celebrate their baby boy. Instead, a sickly, confusing puff of pink smoke erupted, followed not by cheers, but by a sound that tore through the quiet suburb. A deafening, splintering crack. Sarah Miller didn't scream. She simply collapsed onto the manicured grass, a dark, starburst pattern rapidly blooming on the chest of her white sundress. The pink plume, a mistake of color in a celebration of life, wasn't just wrong. It was the first clear, undeniable sign of a premeditated, chilling murder. This isn't the story of a tragic accident, a faulty device, or a gender reveal gone terribly awry. This is the gender reveal murder case. And today, we will meticulously dissect the evidence, following the trail of clues that pointed away from a terrible prank and straight toward a calculated motive no one could have ever predicted. Sarah was the picture of the perfect suburban mother-to-be, surrounded by love and a beautiful future. So the central question isn't just about the mechanics of the crime. It's not who pulled the cord on the cannon. It's who hated that unborn child enough to ensure the day ended in bloodshed. The answer is found not in ballistics or fingerprints, but in a small-town grudge. Stick around. The truth changes everything about how you view your neighbors. The aftermath of the confetti cannon firing was pure, frozen chaos. When paramedics arrived, the garden party had become a crime scene. A single shotgun shell was recovered near the device. Not a confetti charge, but a live round loaded into a crude, modified barrel. This eliminated all doubt. This wasn't an accident. This was a direct, lethal attack. Detectives immediately turned their attention to the device itself. A forensic sweep confirmed it had been meticulously taken apart, the powder charge replaced with an explosive propellant, and the confetti tube swapped for a metal projectile, all triggered by the cord Mike had pulled. The tampering was elaborate, professional, and done with cold certainty. In any domestic homicide, the first suspect is always the spouse. For the detectives, all roads led immediately to Mike Miller. His grief was visible, yes, but it was also contained. He was quick to offer assistance, perhaps too quick. He could list the guests, the logistics, and the timing of the cannon's delivery with a strange, almost detached precision. His story was simple. He ordered the device online and set it up just an hour before the party. A husband with mounting financial stress, a secret affair, or a sudden change of heart about fatherhood. It was the oldest, simplest motive in the book. But then, the odd behavior started. Mike wasn't worried about the gun. He was obsessively concerned with the color of the smoke, the pink plume. He kept muttering that it was supposed to be blue. Detectives seized on this. Why focus on a trivial detail, like the color of confetti when your wife has just been murdered? The police were convinced he wasn't mourning the death of his wife. He was covering his tracks. Mike had a solid alibi, placing him in plain view of 30 witnesses when the cannon was loaded and fired. But his behavior at the station was deeply unsettling. He seemed utterly disconnected from the crime's gravity. The police were convinced he was hiding something far bigger than an affair. What could it be? The alibi held firm. Witnesses confirmed Mike was never alone with the device and couldn't possibly have rigged it. The focus of his odd preoccupation, the pink smoke, was finally clarified. Sarah had ordered 2 cannons as a backup, one blue, one pink. Mike had accidentally loaded the wrong one, a mundane mistake that had driven police down a dead end. Mike was dismissed. The police realized their primary assumption, that this was a domestic case, was completely wrong. The killer was an outsider, someone hidden in the perfect backdrop of Willow Creek. With the husband cleared, the investigation expanded to the digital realm. Detectives scoured Sarah's online accounts and discovered a handful of anonymous, vaguely threatening messages posted on a local community forum. They weren't direct death threats, but escalating complaints about Sarah's excessive and disruptive preparation for the baby, culminating in one post demanding they shut down this vulgar display of egotism before the party. The police initially tagged this as a random threat, a product of toxic online culture. But they knew the killer had to have local knowledge to tamper with the canon unnoticed. The focus shifted briefly to the close-knit social circle. Suspicion landed on Sarah's best friend, Lisa, who harbored a long history of professional and personal jealousy. Lisa was single and struggling financially, watching Sarah effortlessly achieve the life she wanted. Her motive was clear: resentment. During her questioning, she admitted to typing one of the anonymous complaints in a drunken fit of anger, but vehemently denied anything beyond that. Lisa was a classic red herring, a suspect with motive but no means a distraction designed by her own poor judgment. Given the level of detail in the threats and the obvious jealousy within the inner circle, would you have focused your investigation solely on the friend group? Drop your answer in the comments right now. The investigation stalled. The threats were too vague, the suspects too many, and the physical evidence was a dead end. The only thing remaining was the grainy screenshot of the anonymous community forum account. It was a fake profile, but the user had uploaded a simple profile picture, a view of a backyard taken from a deck. It was a common photograph, but a detective, scrolling through endless images, noticed a minuscule detail in the bottom corner: a specific, custom-made wooden deck chair. This brand of outdoor furniture was only sold by one small local artisan shop. It was a fatal flaw, a detail so irrelevant the anonymous poster never bothered to crop it out. This was the moment the physical crime converged with the digital trail. The deck chair was traced directly to a customer named Theodore Vance, a man living just 3 houses down from Miller's. Theodore was a recluse, known in the community only for his fastidious lawn and his frequent, passive-aggressive complaints about everything from leaf blowers to recycling schedules. He was the quiet, invisible man next door. The motive was suddenly becoming disturbingly localized. The police interviewed Theodore. He was calm, polite, and instantly confessed to the online complaints. But his motive for murder was something no one in the precinct had ever processed. Theodore was a hypersensitive environmentalist, an obsessive believer in the sanctity of their quiet, suburban ecosystem. He saw the Miller's preparations, the endless contractor noise, the party planning, the inevitable future noise of a baby as a calculated violation of his peaceful existence. The hostility had escalated weeks prior, when Mike had simply asked Theodore to move his overly large compost bin that encroached on their property line. Theodore hadn't seen a friendly request. He saw a declaration of war. He admitted he wanted to shut down the party, to preserve the peace. The police now had a suspect and a bizarre, completely disproportionate motive. But Theodore only confessed to the online threats. There was still no direct, hard evidence connecting him to the physical tampering of the canon itself, until they found his digital footprint. Investigators executed a warrant on Theodore's home computer. They didn't find bomb-making schematics, but they found something far more revealing: a purchase history for specialized, industrial-grade metalworking tools, and a paper trail showing he'd ordered parts that matched the rare material found inside the cannon's modified barrel. Furthermore, they found a browser history riddled with searches for how to modify pyrotechnic devices and noise ordnance removal. Theodore didn't just hate the noise, he had planned its permanent removal. The low-key brilliance of the investigation culminated in a quiet, early morning arrest. Theodore Vance was taken into custody without incident. The lack of drama surrounding the arrest of a man who carried out such a monstrous act only amplified the horror. He wasn't a rampaging killer. He was a silent, ordinary neighbor who had weaponized a garden party. In the interrogation room, Theodore stuck to his story. He only wanted to tamper with the device, to make a loud noise, to scare them into submission, to ruin the party. He never confessed to murder. This was his flawed confession, the admission of a felony, but not the homicide charge. The police pressed him, pointing out the clear lethality of the device he built. The investigators had saved their trump card. They hadn't found a modified shotgun in his house, but they found the tool. Hidden in the back of Theodore's impeccably organized shed, carefully wiped down and wrapped in oilcloth, was a specialized vice grip. Forensic analysis matched microscopic striations on the tool to markings on the cannon's modified barrel. They presented Theodore with one final piece of evidence, a hidden folder on his computer containing a photograph of the modified cannon before the party, showing the metal projectile clearly visible. Theodore had meticulously documented his work. The claim that he just wanted to scare them crumbled instantly. The evidence was irrefutable. It was the proof that the gender reveal murder was not about noise, not about a property line, but about a calculated desire to silence Sarah Miller and destroy her future, all because a neighbor found her happiness in inconvenience. The arrest of Theodore Vance sent a shockwave through Willow Creek that was colder than the murder itself. It wasn't the monster under the bed they feared. It was the quiet, judgmentally fastidious man next door. The trial lasted just under 3 weeks. The prosecution's case was airtight, anchored by Theodore's own meticulous digital trail and the damning evidence recovered from his shed. Theodore maintained his defense. He only intended to sabotage the party, to create a loud, humiliating spectacle to enforce his need for peace. He truly believed he deserved to have his suburban tranquility protected from the vulgar chaos of the family's happiness. The jury saw through the absurd defense. They returned a verdict of guilty of first-degree murder. For Sarah's husband, Mike, the conviction offered little comfort. He stood before the court and delivered a victim impact statement that wasn't filled with rage, but with crushing sadness. He spoke not of justice, but of the empty room, the unused crib, and the future that was stolen over a compost bin and a need for quiet. It was a tragedy of profound imbalance. Theodore Vance received a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The gender reveal murder case serves as a dark cautionary tale. It proves that the most devastating crimes don't always stem from grand conspiracies or epic hatred, but from a tiny, twisted seed of resentment allowed to grow unchecked in the quiet vacuum of suburban life. A single, small confrontation over property became a lethal motive that cost 2 lives. Theodore felt entitled to absolute peace, an entitlement that led to murder. Do you think the lack of a traditional murder motive made the sentence too harsh, or was it entirely justified? Let me know your perspective. Type senseless in the comments right now if this case truly shocked you. And hit that like button if you want to see more cases that expose the hidden darkness in perfect communities.